stood out 'cause you were in red. Men against my intention.
So I'm honestly a fan of anything retro looking, and I think that being able to revive designs from the 60s, 70s and 80s is quite amazing, and I hope more and more companies would consider going that route. Today we're taking a look at Edifier's amazing take in making a Bluetooth portable speaker with a unique retro design, and this has won them the 2022 CES Innovation Award. So the new Edifier MP230 is designed to be a small tiny desktop speaker, rivaling the Bose Soundlink Mini series of speakers, and honestly, if you disregard branding, many people I believe will go with the retro style of the Edifier. So today's speaker was sent over to me for review by Edifier Malaysia, and there were no money exchanging hands, so this review is based on my honest and unbiased opinion. So this speaker retails for $95 US, and that's about 395 Malaysian ringgit. Very decently priced, and for me, I'm going to classify this as a piece of art kind of tech, because just having this sitting on your coffee table is a conversational piece. So if you're interested in getting this speaker, please check out my links in the description below. So the Edifier MP230 is designed with a very warm color palette, combining with the wooden MDF cabinet along with copper finishes such as the copper line mesh grille, the copper Edifier logo at the front left here, and also the copper buttons in front of the speakers really gives this speaker a very unique and awesome finish. And if you look really closely at the grille, let me see how close I can push this. And if you look really close at the grille, it's really quite a masterpiece where the copper threads are stitched together with the black threads, creating a nice alternating crisscross design that makes up the grille. So although this is not the first time we see an Edifier plaque on their devices, Edifier make the logo copper color, which really ups the class of this speaker by a factor of 1000. So at the front here, you're gonna see an array of buttons which are honestly very straightforward to use. The buttons here also represents a mix of modern and retro. So these types of buttons are what you'll find in olden day radios, but modern design also adopts these types of button layouts, and you can see many car interiors also use this kind of buttons. So the cabinet here is not too heavy, and in fact the entire speaker is very light and easy to carry around, but if you knock on it, it sounds very solid and firm. So that means that these speakers would be very good in managing the resonance internally, giving you a very firm, clean sound quality. So if you notice, there is also some mesh going on at the back of the speaker. This is not just for show, neither is this a speaker with 360 speakers, but what's hidden at the back here is two passive radiators to give this speaker a little help with the bass department. So the front of the speaker houses two 48mm full range drivers, delivering about 20 watts of total power, so it's not the most powerful speaker, but then again the MP230 is designed to be a small portable Bluetooth speaker. So in terms of connectivity, the MP230 is pretty simple. So your main method to play music with the speaker is definitely through Bluetooth, but if you prefer an analog connection, you can also always plug in your device using the 3.5mm auxiliary cable here. If you fancy using your speaker without any device, you can also load in your favorite songs into a micro SD card and play it directly from the speaker and plug it inside here. Lastly, you're also going to get a Type-C port for charging or powering the speaker. You can also permanently plug it in and run it as constant power, and the speaker will still work. And you can also plug in any Type-C device into this port and use it as a source. So this is quite a practical piece of tech. So controls here are simple, and you're going to get an on-off power button here. Of course, here you're going to get the Edifier logo as well as a very tiny LED indicator here. So at the first button here, you're going to get a power on and off button, a Bluetooth pairing button, as well as a play or pause button. And here you're going to get your volume up and down as well, which also acts as track skipping, forward or backwards. Really handy and intuitive, making media controls really easy to figure out even without using a manual. So in terms of the battery life, this speaker comes with a decently sized battery for the size of this speaker. So coming in at 2600 mAh, which also translates to 16 hours of continuous playback at moderate volume. Unfortunately, there is no feature for you to charge other devices using the speaker, so no power bank feature here with this. So the speaker is also pretty loud for its size. 20% of this speaker feels comfortably loud, and 40% already starts to feel really loud. Of course, you need to adjust your expectations a little bit, especially with the small speakers like that, since it's not going to sound absolutely fantastic at louder volumes. This is more like a personal speaker for you to enjoy music in a small, intimate space. So technology-wise, there's not a lot to talk about here. You're going to get Bluetooth 5.0 with support for only SBC codec. Nothing too fancy here since this speaker is not designed to deliver any special audiophile or high-end audio quality. Edifier omitted any special codec to keep prices low. The previous MP230 that we looked at featured an alarm clock system, but unfortunately the feature is not brought over to this newer model. But to be honest, I would give up the alarm clock feature of the 260 and just stick with the retro styling of the MP230. But one thing that's really cool is that if, let's say, we have a radio feature here, which also adds into the retro feel of this speaker, then I think that would be really cool. So next, sound quality wise, these are pretty typical small Bluetooth speaker audio quality. Personally, I still think the Bose Soundlink Mini 2 is still the better sounding speaker, but then again, that price point of that speaker is also in a different league. So for what the MP230 is targeted to do, at this budget price point, I think it delivers what it sets out to do. Sound quality here is pretty decent with a very basic coverage of most of the sound frequencies, and do note that these speakers are not your bassy sounding speakers, although that startup sound does give you a hint of bass. Most times you're not getting too much bass since there is no active woofer on the speakers, just two tiny passive radiators at the back, so that's not really gonna give you a whole lot of power in terms of bass. And the good part here is that Edifier doesn't try to compensate for the bass by artificially boosting it. This means that they can manage to keep vocals clean with very little distortion, so listening to music with vocals sounds natural and warm, and you don't get any unpleasant muffling or crackling with the artist's voice. Finally, highs here are mediocre, and I wouldn't say that these are great sounding, but they sound decent. Not the brightest sounding speaker, and frankly a little warm, I think because of the entire build and cabinet of it. But for most day-to-day casual listening, I think this speaker works perfectly fine and it still sounds pretty nice. So in terms of latency, I think the MP230 is surprisingly good for a basic Bluetooth 5.0 speaker, similar to the MP260 we've looked at previously. Whether it's playing PUBG or watching movies and videos, they all perform admirably and actually feels really snappy. So anyways, let's take a look at the latency performance of this speaker. So overall, a decent but extremely beautiful speaker in my opinion. Sound signature may be a little bit mediocre, but remember that this is a small tiny Bluetooth speaker. Its volume, latency, performance and design more than makes this speaker a worthwhile option. So that is it for this review. If you find this video helpful, smash that thumbs up button, share this video everywhere, and if you haven't subscribed, do consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.